The night was quiet, too quiet. In the middle of the Nevada desert, a strange shape appeared in the sky. It didn't shine like a star. It didn't move like a plane. It just floated, completely silent. Then it vanished. Seconds later, the sky turned black. Not like night, but black like something had swallowed the stars. People in nearby towns lost signal. Phones went dead. Cars stopped. Lights blinked once, and never came back on. At exactly 2:13 a.m., something crashed in the desert. There was no fire, no explosion. Just impact, a deep thump in the earth like something heavy had arrived. Eli Parker, 17, lived in a small trailer near that desert with his uncle. He had no idea that tonight would change everything. He wasn't famous. He wasn't rich. He didn't even have a working phone. But something inside him had always felt different, like a voice whispering from far away. That night, when everything went dark, Eli stepped outside. The wind felt strange, thicker. The stars were gone. And in the distance, he saw a blue light glowing in the desert. Something was calling him. An hour later, Eli stood near the crash site. It wasn't just a spaceship. It was smooth and silver, like it was made from living metal. It had no doors, no engines, no windows. Just one symbol glowing on its surface, a circle with 3 lines running through it. Eli stepped closer. His fingers reached out. As soon as he touched the symbol, he froze. Images hit his mind, like dreams poured straight into his brain. He saw massive cities floating in the sky, people moving things with their thoughts, earth before trees, before oceans, when humans lived in golden towers. His legs gave out. He fell to the ground, shaking. When he opened his eyes, he heard a voice inside his head. "You are one of them. You are waking." 20 miles away, in a secret U.S. military base, alarms screamed. Scientists and officers stared at a screen. "Something's wrong," a woman said. "The ship is active, but not by us. They have been tracking the object for days. It came from outside the solar system. They believed it was peaceful." The symbols on the ship translated to something like, "We come to teach." The plan was to welcome the visitors, learn from them. But now, the ship had reacted before they arrived. The man in charge, Commander Ross, frowned. "Send in a team. Bring the boy in." Back at the crash site, the air rippled. A tall, thin figure stepped out of the ship. It didn't look like any alien Eli had ever imagined. No big head, no gray skin, no bug eyes. This being looked calm, humanoid, skin like silver glass, eyes like deep oceans. It spoke softly, but not with its mouth. "You woke it." That was not the plan. Eli couldn't speak. He was shaking. "Well, what is this?" he asked. "You carry the code," the being said. "You are not supposed to be awake yet." Then another voice came, human, loud, sharp. "Put your hands up." Military vehicles surrounded them. Soldiers in black gear rushed forward. Lights blinded Eli. The alien raised one hand, but did not fight. Commander Ross stepped out of a helicopter. He looked at Eli, then at the alien. "What is this?" he asked. The alien looked straight at the commander. "You are too late. They are starting to remember." The next day, news broke out all over the world. Aliens had arrived. People were excited, afraid, confused. Governments told the public that the visitors came in peace, offering knowledge, technology, and ways to help Earth survive coming disasters. But Eli knew that wasn't the full truth. Something had changed inside him. Something old had woken up. He remembered things that couldn't be real. Flying without machines, building cities with thought, moving stars. And every time he closed his eyes, he saw more. Whispers, names, symbols, codes. He was no longer just a boy. He was something else. Inside a deep lab, the alien stood in a containment room. It looked at another being like itself, also in a cell. The second one asked, "Is it happening?" The first nodded. "Yes." One of them touched the seal. "The memory virus is breaking." "When we do now?" The first alien stared at the wall. "We came to teach them, but now, they will teach us who they really are." The world couldn't stop talking. News channels showed the alien ship every hour. Social media exploded with videos, theories, and questions. Who were they? Why had they come? What did they want? Governments told the people not to worry. The visitors bring peace and advanced knowledge, they said. But Eli Parker knew something wasn't right. He sat on his bed, staring at his hands. His skin tingled. His blood felt like it was moving in patterns. His dreams had become strange, full of light, flying machines, and voices calling him by a name he didn't recognize. Alaric. Was that him? Was that his real name? At the secret base, the two aliens were still under guard. Their names, according to translation, were Rail and Ceres. Commander Ross wanted answers, but Rail just kept repeating. The signals have started. You cannot stop what is waking. Scientists scanned the ship, the symbols, and even Ili's DNA. One shocking discovery stood out. Ili's blood held a strand of non-human code, ancient, hidden, and buried deep in the human genome. A code not found in anyone else's DNA, at least, not yet. The next day, in 3 different countries, strange events happened at the same time. In Brazil, a young girl stopped a falling tree with her hand. In Egypt, an old man suddenly began speaking in a lost language, one no one had spoken for 10,000 years. In Tokyo, a group of students passed out at once, and when they woke, they had the same dream of flying through stars. Each one of them had been near a screen showing the alien ship. Somehow, the image alone had triggered something inside them. Back in the lab, a scientist whispered, "What if they didn't come to teach us? What if they came because something we buried is coming back?" Eli was moved to a hidden underground room. They told him it was for his safety. But the walls felt like a cage. A woman named Dr. Reyes sat with him. She was kind, but her eyes held fear. "Eli," she said gently, "will you touch that ship? Something changed. Can you tell me what you saw?" He hesitated. Then he said softly, "A city in the sky. People, not like us, but also human. They looked like gods. They could fly, speak without words. One of them looked at me and said, 'We will sleep now, so the stars may live.'" Dr. Reyes looked shocked. "That's a phrase from an ancient text, found on stone deep under Antarctica. No one outside our team knows about it." Eli looked at her. "I saw it like I was there." Meanwhile, Rail spoke to Commander Ross again. "You think we are gods," Rail said, "but you were gods long before us. You only forgot." Ross frowned. "What are you talking about?" Rail turned toward the glass. "You were once called the architects. You shaped galaxies. You created us. We were made to guide you, but only when you were ready." Ross laughed coldly. "And who decides when we're ready?" Rail's voice became serious. "You didn't decide. The code did." Around the world, more people started hearing voices. Some had dreams. Some had headaches. Others started drawing strange symbols they had never seen before. Scientists noticed a strange signal in the sky, like a pulse, coming from deep space. Every time the alien ship blinked its light, the signal echoed across the planet. The name for it became known as the Awakening Signal, and it was spreading fast. Back in his room, Eli stared at the mirror. His reflection shimmered for a second. Just 1 second. In that second, he saw himself wearing armor, his eyes glowing. Behind him, a massive ship rising out of the ocean. He blinked. It was gone. Suddenly, a screen on the wall turned on. It wasn't supposed to. A message flashed. "Reach COKEIDENTIFIE. Beginning UNLOC key process." Lights flickered. Alarms rang. Scientists ran. Eli stood up, his chest burned. Something was unlocking inside him. And deep in the earth, something very old was waking up. For 2 days, Eli didn't sleep. He couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, visions came. Not dreams, but memories. Not from his life now, but from another time. Another version of Earth. He saw giant towers made of light. He flew across the sky in ships that didn't need fuel. He stood before stars being born and called them by name. But the scariest part, he wasn't alone in the memories. Others stood beside him. Men, women, children. All glowing with the same strange light. And they looked at him with one name on their lips. Alaric. Somewhere far from the base, in the cold mountains of Tibet, an old woman opened her eyes during meditation. She hadn't spoken in years, but now she whispered, "He has returned." All over the world, similar things were happening. Ancient monks, isolated tribes, underground labs. People were waking up, remembering things they had no reason to know. These were the ones who remember. At the military base, everything was in chaos. The alien ship had sent out another pulse, stronger this time. It had affected satellites, shut down aircraft, and caused strange power surges in hospitals and data centers. Commander Ross shouted at his team, "What is this ship trying to do?" No one had an answer. In the observation cell, Rail sat still, watching, waiting. Then, for the first time, he stood. He looked straight at the camera. "They will come," he said. "The ones who still remember. They will find him." Eli sat in a cold room under heavy guard, but he didn't feel afraid anymore. Something inside him was changing. He could feel machines around him, even without seeing them. He could hear thoughts, not clearly, but like soft whispers behind walls. He placed his hand on the metal wall. The metal rippled beneath his palm. A camera in the corner blinked and turned away on its own. Eli was no longer just a boy. He was becoming something more. That night, a woman entered the base without setting off a single alarm. She looked human, wore simple clothes, no weapons. But as she walked, lights dimmed around her. Cameras froze. Soldiers didn't see her. It was like their eyes skipped over her completely. She walked straight to Ili's room. The guards didn't stop her. They didn't even notice her. Eli looked up when she entered. "Who are you?" he asked. She smiled gently. "My name is Asha. I've been waiting for you for a very long time." Eli stood, confused but drawn to her energy. "You knew me?" "Yes," she said. "A long time ago. Before the forgetting. Before we chose to sleep." "Sleep?" he asked. She nodded. "You were Alaric, the last keyholder. You locked the world's memory. You chose to hide it, to protect us." Eli took a step back. "Why would I do that?" Asha looked sad. "Because we were about to destroy everything. The stars, the planets, each other. We were gods, and we forgot how to be human. Far underground, hidden by centuries of dirt and stone, something massive began to hum. It was shaped like a ship, but not one built by hands. It had grown into the earth itself, alive, sleeping. Until now, the pulses from the alien ship had reached it, and it was responding. Its name, buried in stone, Vastara, the World Memory Vault. Back at the base, alarms screamed again. Another energy spike, a soldier shouted. "It's not the ship," someone said. "It's coming from beneath the earth." Dr. Reyes looked at her screen. "This can't be. The signal is older than anything we've recorded. Older than this planet." Commander Ross's hand shook. "What the hell is going on?" Rail appeared on the screen. "You call us aliens," he said calmly. "But this world is not your home. It is your cradle. You are not children anymore. The cradle is breaking." Asha led Eli out of the room. No one stopped them. He asked, "Where are we going?" She said, "To the vault. To awaken the others." Eli hesitated. "What if I'm not ready?" She looked into his eyes. "You've already begun." As they stepped outside, stars blinked in strange patterns. Shapes moved in the sky. Not planes. Not birds. Others were coming. And deep inside Eli's heart, a fire lit. Not fear, but memory. He didn't know everything yet, but he knew this. He had been powerful once, and that power was coming back. The ground shook. Not like an earthquake. This was deeper, like the planet itself was breathing for the first time in a long, long time. Eli stood on a cliff near the Nevada desert with Asha. In the distance, the ground was splitting open. A massive circular structure was rising from under the earth. It looked like a ring made of metal and stone, half machine, half something alive. Lights moved across its surface like veins. "The vault," Asha whispered. "It's waking." Eli stared in silence. Something inside him felt drawn to it, like the vault was calling his name. Back at the base, Commander Ross stood frozen in front of the monitors. "What the hell is that thing?" he asked. Dr. Reyes answered, her voice shaky. "It's not from space. It's from Earth. But it's millions of years old. Buried under layers of rock. This place wasn't just desert. It was a sleep zone." Ross turned. "You mean someone hid that thing here?" "No," Ray said. "We hid it." Rail appeared again on the screen. "You were beginning to understand," he said. Ross narrowed his eyes. "You said humans were gods. That we created you. Now what? You expect us to believe we built that thing?" Rail spoke softly. Not just built. You encoded it with your memories. Eli and Asha walked toward the vault. As they got closer, the air grew heavy. Every step Eli took, the lights on the vault pulsed. Asha said, "Before the fall, your people were called the architects. You shaped energy. You created systems that could bend time, matter, even thought." Eli said nothing, but he remembered more now. He remembered standing in front of a council. He remembered warning them, "If we continue, the stars will burn out before their time." And he remembered pressing his hand to a crystal panel, locking something away. Himself, his power, and the others. Inside the vault, the codes were running. Lines of ancient language scrolled across giant walls. The system was scanning Earth, searching for others like Eli. It found 12 humans whose DNA still held the architect code. They were spread around the world, some in cities, some in hiding, some unaware of who they were. The vault began calling them. Each one heard the same voice in their mind. "The key has turned. You are not alone." At the base, Dr. Reyes pulled up Eli's DNA again. Then she did a comparison. Her hands trembled. "Oh my God," she whispered. Ross looked at the screen. "What?" Reyes looked pale. "He's not the only one. I found traces of the architect code in my own blood. And yours." Ross stepped back. "You're saying we're all—" "No," she said. "Not all, but some of us. Maybe we're descendants of the first architects. Maybe the code skips generations." She looked up at him. "What if the human race isn't evolving forward? What if it's rebooting?" That night in Tokyo, a young woman collapsed while on the train. When she woke up, she saw blue lines glowing on her skin, like ancient tattoos she never had. She whispered, "I remember the vault." In Kenya, a man lifted his hand and turned sand into glass. In Russia, a child drew a perfect diagram of the vault, though he had never seen it. The architects were returning. Eli stood at the vault's gate. Asha pointed to the center. "Place your hand there. If you're ready, the system will respond." "What if I'm not?" he asked. She smiled sadly. "Then it will still remember you." Eli took a breath and stepped forward. He placed his hand on the platform. The vault shook. A beam of light shot into the sky, piercing the clouds. Eli saw everything. The fall, the war, the lockdown, the reason. The architects had created life on many worlds, but they became arrogant. One group wanted to control galaxies. The others refused. A war began. Civilizations were destroyed. Suns were collapsed. Eli, as Alaric, chose to lock their knowledge and erase the memory of power, so that Earth could start fresh. Now, the lock had broken. The knowledge was returning. And so was the danger. Rail looked at the stars from his cell. "They know now," he whispered. "They remember." Back at the vault, Eli's eyes glowed gold. His voice echoed with layers. "The architects return, but we are not who we were. We must not make the same mistake again." Asha stepped beside him. "Then we teach the new ones. We guide them. We prepare." Eli nodded, because far beyond the stars, something had felt the signal too. And it was coming. The sky darkened again. This time, it wasn't a storm. It was the shadow of something huge. Eli stood on the edge of the vault. His eyes still glowed faint gold, and his heart raced. "Asha, what is that?" he asked, pointing up. Far beyond Earth's atmosphere, a giant shape moved slowly. It was a ship, but not like the silver one that had landed before. This ship was old, broken in places, covered in strange symbols, some Eli recognized from his visions. "They called it the Harbinger," Asha said softly. "It's the weapon of the architect's enemies." Long ago, before the fall, the architects had many rivals. They were called the Voidborn, beings who lived in darkness between stars. They thrived on destruction. Their goal was simple: erase all creation and rule the emptiness. The vault wasn't just a memory bank. It was a prison. Inside, hidden in a secret chamber, was the last piece of the Voidborn's power, sealed away so they could never return. But now, with the architect code unlocking, the prison was weakening. The Harbinger had come to finish what was started long ago. Back at the military base, Commander Ross was in full panic mode. "The aliens, the vault, this Harbinger ship, we are out of control," he said, throwing a chair. Dr. Reyes stepped forward. No, we still have a chance. If Eli and the others can fully unlock the architect powers, they can fight it. Ross looked doubtful. What if they become the enemy themselves? Reyes answered, then we make sure that doesn't happen. Meanwhile, across the globe, the ones who remember gathered. In hidden places, the 12 humans with architect DNA connected by a strange energy. Each one felt the Harbinger's arrival. It was a call to war. Eli and Asha entered the vault's secret chamber. Inside, a giant crystal pulsed with dark energy. This is the Voidborn core, Asha explained. It feeds on fear, anger, and chaos. If it breaks free, it will consume everything. Eli reached out, his hand glowing bright gold. The crystal reacted, shaking violently. You have to lock it again, Asha said urgently. Eli hesitated. He felt power inside him growing fast. But the crystal whispered terrible things in his mind. Join us. Become stronger. Destroy the false gods. His body trembled. Was this temptation? Outside the vault, the Harbinger's shadow grew larger. Satellites began to fail. Power grids flickered. People around the world felt panic rising. News outlets broadcast warnings of unexplained energy surges and strange phenomena. No one knew the truth. Inside, Eli fought the darkness in his mind. Asha held his hand. Remember who you are. His memories surged. He saw himself as Alaric, strong, wise, and full of hope. With one deep breath, Eli focused his light. The crystal stopped shaking. Energy flowed from him, locking the Voidborn core once again. Asha smiled. You did it. But her face quickly turned serious. The Harbinger is still out there. Suddenly, the vault shook violently. Eli looked out to see the giant ship firing a beam straight at the vault. This is only the beginning, he said. Asha nodded. The war is coming. Commander Ross stared at the news feeds. The world was changing fast. And the question was clear. Who would control the future? The returning architects, or the forgotten enemies from the dark? The sky burned red. The Harbinger ship loomed over the earth like a dark cloud. It fired beams that cut through mountains and oceans. Cities trembled. People screamed. Eli stood at the vault's edge, watching the destruction. His golden eyes burned brighter than ever. He was no longer just a boy. He was the last hope of the architects. Asha stood beside him. The Voidborn want to erase everything we built, she said. They want to make the universe empty again. Eli clenched his fists. We can't let that happen. Around the world, the 12 humans with the architect code gathered. They called themselves the Awakened. Each had strange powers, controlling energy, healing wounds, bending matter. But they were still learning, still weak. Eli was their leader. He spoke to them through a mental link. We must unite. Together, we are stronger. Commander Ross watched the war from the control room. Planes tried to attack the Harbinger, but its shields were too strong. Missiles exploded on contact. Is there no way to stop it? He asked Dr. Reyes. She shook her head. Only the Awakened can fight the Voidborn. The rest of us can only survive. Ross looked grim. Then we protect them. In the vault, Eli and Asha worked to unlock more power. The vault's walls glowed with ancient light. Symbols moved like living things. Eli felt the power grow inside him. But with the power came a warning, a shadow in his mind. A voice whispered, "You were gods once, but gods can fall." Eli knew this war was not just about saving Earth. It was about saving himself from becoming what he feared. The battle outside grew worse. The Harbinger released smaller ships, dark fighters that rained fire on the cities. The Awakened flew into battle, using their powers to fight back. In New York, a young woman turned stone into shields to protect people. In Nairobi, a man called lightning from the sky. In Moscow, a child created walls of ice. Eli led the fight in the skies above Nevada. During a fierce battle, Eli faced a Voidborn warrior, a giant creature of shadow and fire. They clashed with beams of light and dark. Eli remembered Asha's words, "Remember who you are." With a burst of power, Eli struck the creature with a beam of pure light. The warriors screamed and vanished into dust. But the war was far from over. The Harbinger ship still hung over Earth like a storm cloud. Eli knew they needed more than just power. They needed a plan. Back in the vault, Asha found an ancient map hidden in the walls. It shows a place called the Starforge, she said. Italy's eyes widened. The Starforge. It's where the architects made their greatest weapons. If we can reach it, Asha said, we can make a weapon to stop the Harbinger. Eli looked out at the dark sky filled with stars. The war had begun. But the fight for Earth, and for the future of all life, was just starting. The war raged on. The Harbinger ship cast a dark shadow over Earth. Cities burned. The Awakened fought bravely, but the enemy's power was immense. Eli stood before the vault's hidden entrance. Asha handed him a glowing crystal. This is the key to the Starforge, she said. Without it, we cannot unlock its power. Eli nodded, determination shining in his eyes. We have to end this. Now, the journey to the Starforge was dangerous. Eli, Asha, and the Awakened traveled through ancient tunnels beneath the earth, where time seemed frozen. Strange machines hummed in the darkness. Finally, they reached a vast chamber filled with stars. Real stars captured and held in crystal orbs. At the center stood the Starforge, a massive forge glowing with pure energy. Eli placed the crystal key in the forge. Energy exploded around them. Weapons of light began to form, swords, shields, and armor. Tools to fight the Voidborn. Outside, the final battle was beginning. The Harbinger unleashed its full power, firing beams that tore the sky. The Awakened flew into battle, now armed with the Starforge weapons. Eli led them. He raised his sword of light and shouted, "For the architects! For Earth!" The fight was fierce. Eli faced the Harbinger's commander, a towering shadow being filled with rage. Their battle shook the sky. With every strike, Eli remembered the lessons of the past. Power was not just strength. It was control, wisdom, hope. With one final blow, Eli's sword pierced the shadow. Light exploded. The Harbinger shattered and fell. The sky cleared. Earth was safe. The Awakened gathered around Eli. Asha smiled. The memory of the architects lives on. But this time, we will be the guardians, not gods. Eli looked at the stars. We were the ancient ones, he said softly. But now, we are the future.